Abarigani, it's wonderful to see all of you, and it's really great for us to enter this sacred space with the drummers. And we want to give thanks to the 6 drummers who have come and who represent the spirit of our ancestors in their coming. We want to particularly thank Brother Julani Ghana for organizing the drummers, and I told him that we really would like to have them here more frequently as we are getting into our regular schedule for the spring. But let me start by, first of all, saying this is a pre-Kwanzaa. This is not a Kwanzaa celebration per se. It is a pre-Kwanzaa event to celebrate for you, or to show you, demonstrate to the wider public and to those who are here present in Philadelphia the importance, the significance of this incredible holiday. And I am very, very pleased to see all of you who have come, and I'm also very pleased to say to you that we have, we believe, a special treat for you today. We have announced it, and we have also been very, very eager for this occasion. And so we have reached out to the only person in the world who can be called the creator of Kwanzaa. And the creator of Kwanzaa is Dr. Maulana Karenga as a special guest. And we're looking forward to his presentation later in this program. In 1965, Maulana Karenga wrote that our purpose as the mothers and fathers of human civilization was to see to it that we bring good into the world. On this day, we gather in a pre-Kwanzaa event as a model for your own family, for our community, because Kwanzaa is to praise the good that we have been able to create, to advance the good of our ancestors for the benefit of our children. We are inheritors of numerous achievements of the men and women who have made our history. But none of those achievements are more significant than the Kwanzaa holiday created by Maulana Karenga, who envisioned this holiday celebrating family, community, and culture in 1966 during the Black Freedom Movement. All creations represent genius, and the genius of Dr. Karenga at the age of 26 was unbelievable. But he held the first Kwanzaa in his home and said that we had to reaffirm our rootedness in African culture. And he was just 26 years old. When I think about that, I said that is incredible consciousness, and I mean the prescience of this young man at 26 calling together all the people who came to celebrate and to honor the notion that African people ought to celebrate around the world the achievements of African people. This was a brilliant idea, and it was based fundamentally on the fact that we have had in our culture harvest festivals, when people have celebrated from the ancient times, from the most ancient times. African people have always had celebrations, and these celebrations are now, they're all over the world. We have all kinds of celebrations that have been developed and created by African people. And this is why he says that it must be rooted in African culture. This is now a universal holiday, practiced and celebrated throughout the African world, and I should say throughout the world, because I saw celebrations and there were people celebrating in Johannesburg. There were people celebrating in Oslo, Norway. I'm saying this is incredible. Wherever African people were meeting, one thing, regardless of whether they were from Brazil, whether they were from Jamaica, or whether they were from France or England or the U.S., wherever black people were from, and they meet in different places throughout the world. If they meet in Japan, if they meet in China, wherever they meet, they celebrate Kwanzaa. And Kwanzaa is celebrated around the world by at least 40 million people. It is a very, very powerful holiday. And that's why I call it a universal holiday for Africans, because all African ethnic groups have their own holidays, and they have in their own cultures their particular rituals that come out of them. If you are a Yoruba person from Nigeria, you know about the Yam festivals. You know that. It comes directly out of that. And of course, if you are from Ghana and you're from Achim, the place where I was in school, you know about the Ohum festival. It's specific. It's something that comes out of that particular culture. All African people have these cultural rituals, you see, of holidays. And the word holiday actually is something that means holy day. That's where it comes from. It came from the idea that in the ancient times, the people who established the calendar, who were Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, the calendar we have now is based on the same calendar. 365 days, 365 days. This was not created in Europe. It was not created in America. It was created in Africa. And how did they create it? They created it by observing when the star Sabdet, which is called now by many people Sirius, when they saw its rising on the horizon about the same time as the River Nile overflooded its banks. And as the floods came and they saw the star, this is the first day. This is where it began. But of course, these things sometimes didn't happen at the same day. Sometimes there were 2 or 3 days in between. And the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days in between, they called them holy days. They just had festivals and waited until these things, till we saw either the flood or we saw the star, you see? And that's how they started counting. So it was very important. And so I always think that we understand that our history was interrupted. At least those of us who are in America, and those of us who are in not just the Americas, but those of us who are even in Africa itself, by invaders and conquerors whose intention was to deprive us not only of our holy days that had existed in Africa longer than anywhere else in the world, but deprive us of our own culture and our own lives in some instances, many instances. Remember, this holiday, Kwanzaa, was created by an African person, and our celebration of it over the years, since the time that he created it, pressured the United States government to itself and other nations to recognize this. In fact, we had an official Kwanzaa stamp with an image created by an African-American artist. Thank you for coming out to this event and to honor yourself, because this is what this is about. It's just not honoring just one thing or one person. It's to honor the community. The Molefi Kete Asante Institute is happy to celebrate this holiday, which will begin on December the 26th, and it ends on January the 1st. So at this time, we are just really delighted, and we want to once again call upon Sister Habiba Sudan to come and say some few words for us.
Thank you, Dr. Asante. Our Baragani family. And I'm going to share with you the meaning and preparation for Kwanzaa. After 56 years of Kwanzaa, from 1966 to 2022, in Kemet, 6,206, 6,262. All right. We now have a good conception of the meaning of Kwanzaa and how to prepare for it, although a few people might not know some of the ideas behind it. I want to give you the basic ideas just to refresh your memory. First, Kwanzaa is not a black Christmas, nor is it a black Hanukkah. Those traditions rest on their histories, on their own histories. Kwanzaa is rooted in the African tradition of harvest festivals that one can see in the study of ancient Kemet, Egypt, and it goes back thousands of years. Secondly, Dr. Karenga, a student of history and languages, uses the Kiswahili language because it is one of the most universal African languages. The meaning of words do not change because of a high or low tone. What you see and pronounce will mean the same thing regardless of how you say it. For example, in Kwanzaa, there are 7 principles. The term for 7 principles is Nguzo Saba, literally meaning principles 7. The names of the Nguzo Saba are the following, and I'm sure many of you know them. The 7 principles of Kwanzaa. What's the first? Umoja. Umoja. All right. And that means unity. And the second one, Kujichagulia, meaning self-determination. The third one, Ujima, collective work and responsibility. The fourth one, Ujama, cooperative economics. The fifth, Nia, purpose. The sixth, Kuumba, creativity. The seventh, Imani, faith. Oh, good. You all passed the class. Here is what you will need if you are celebrating at home with your family. You need a mazao and muhindi, crops, fruits, and vegetables. You need a mat, or we call it in Kiswahili. Does anyone know? MKAI. Right. You need a candle holder, as you can see. And we call the candle holder Kanara. And you need 7 candles, as you can see on the table. And the 7 candles, Mishuma Saba. All right, 7 candles. And you need a unity cup. I'm sure there's a cup there. Kakambe Cha Umoja, cup of unity. And that particular one, my grandchildren love saying it because it just has a ring to it. Kakambe Cha Umoja. They would love saying that, and they'd want to say it a number of times. So why don't you try it? Come on. Kakambe Cha Umoja. Now we're going to speed it up. Kakambe Cha Umoja. Say. Kakambe Cha Umoja. All right, that's the unity cup. And the last item that we have on the table is a Zawadi, gifts. All right, those are the gifts that we usually share mainly with children. Okay, greetings during Kwanzaa, a Baragani. The answer is the principle for the day of Kwanzaa. For example, on the first day, the answer is Umoja. The second day, the answer is Kujichagulia. So a Baragani, what's the news for today? And so today we're saying Abaragani, and the news for today is Kwanzaa, pre-Kwanzaa. All right, so you can also say Heri za Kwanzaa, which means happy Kwanzaa. So during Kwanzaa, we can say Heri za Kwanzaa when we meet each other, brothers and sisters. So thank you, family.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Happy Kwanzaa. All right, here is Kwanzaa. All right, thank you so much, Sister Habiba. At this time, we're actually going to ask our poet if our poet would come up and just say a few words of poetry. And
Hotep. That's me, I'm the poet today. Tomorrow I'll be the professor. In a couple hours I'll be back to dad. How y'all doing? I was gonna do this a certain way, but I said in the African tradition of call and response, I said I have a choir today. So I'm gonna put y'all to work. We're gonna do it like this. We're gonna say Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit. That's your whole job. That's it. Some of y'all look a little nervous, like I ain't getting paid for this. So that's all you gotta do. You ready? Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit. That was real cool and black at the end, right? To get real African with the feel. One more time. Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit. Started off in 66. Dr. Maulana Karenga did this. He grew up on a poultry farm, grew wings of culture and learned to soar, grew a new movement that soared abroad and that was celebrated by millions across the world. Now you know I'm talking about that Kwanzaa. Start by that in Guzo Saba. 7 principles, but first, I'll bring the next hook, but I want to hear this verse, because you know that Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit. One more time. Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit. All right. Day 1, Umoja. That's unity. Word to Latifa in black communities. You think about the queen and it grounds you, huh? Just remember, Black Ummah number 1. Day 2, Kuji Chagalia. Self-determination, only we can free us. Day 3, y'all forgot that fast? Working together like everybody on 3, helping to make it better. Day 4, supporting each other. Give a boost to my sister while supporting my brother. Day 5, that's purpose. Find yours. You and the world deserves it. 6, Kaumba. Creativity. My Kaumba brought you this song literally. Day 7, Imani. That's faith, especially in yourself. Believe that you can make it. Believe that you're the greatest. Believe in what is right. Believe we should unite. Believe in family. Believe when we be lighting them lights, because you know that Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa. You can do better than that. Kwanzaa lit. Celebration of family and culture. Be on the lookout for culture vultures. They always want to take what's black to make stacks. Rituals taken from us, we take back. The first fruits, the kanara and the mantles, the libation and the light and the candles. Think black for the people, red for the struggle, green for the future. Now them haters in trouble. You think about it like that, it gets into you. Black people that struggle have a future. Revolution's coming, so hype it up. You got the candles, soon we gonna light them up. Start with the black, then with the red. Then with the green, see, now we thinking ahead. And then it's red, green, done. Then with Kwanzaa, the fun has just begun, because you know that Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit. Finish strong, y'all, come on. Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit, Kwanzaa lit. Thank you very much. Thank you.
you want to try now? We're just taking a pause. We're having a little, I'm having a little technical issue trying to get Dr. Karenga here. And I didn't give him a passcode, so we gave him a passcode. But he's still here. And in the meantime, we are getting ready to light the candles and the mashuma. And we have, actually, we're going to be calling, soon we'll be calling Miss Belinda Wilson to come up and to read as Sister Tahira. There he is. Yes. Okay. So we'll wait. Tell him we need to wait for about 10 minutes.
Good.
Habari gani?
Again,
Okay, kind brother. We're happy to see you. We are just so happy to see you. The world, we said, I mean, you are better at technology than I am, and so it's just really good to see you. So we need about we're going to light our candles, and then we're going to invite you to come in, and we'll introduce you properly. All right? All right. At this time, we're going to ask Sister Belinda Wilson to come forward, and then Sister Tahira Sal.
Hotep. I don't know. Kwanzaa lit. I got that one. Unguzu Saba. The first, now we will do the lighting of the candles. And the first is Umoja. To maintain unity in the family and community. Second is Kuji Chakalia. To name ourselves, define ourselves, create for ourselves, speak for ourselves. Ujima. To build and maintain our community together and to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. Ujuma. To build our own businesses, shops, and organizations and to maintain them together. Nia. To make our collective vocation the building and development of our community. Kuumba. To do always as much as we can to leave our community more beautiful than when we inherited it. And the last is Imani. To have faith in each other, our people, our leaders, our parents, and our teachers, and to believe in the righteousness and victory of our struggle.
Thank you. All right, habari gani? All right, it's so happy to see all of you, and we thank our group, our YouTube people very much as well. And we are really delighted that we have a very special guest. And I mentioned a little bit about him earlier, but I just want to say that Dr. Maulana Karenga, who is the creator of Kwanzaa and the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles, and the author of Kawaida philosophy, is, excuse me. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for explaining to me what happened. He said, I thought I had done something. He said, no, he's just bringing up his presentation. Very good. But he is recognized social theorist and ethical philosopher in African culture, an authority on ancient Egyptian ethical philosophy. He wrote his second dissertation. Some of us are still writing our first, on Ma'at, the moral ideal in ancient Egypt, a study in classical African ethics. An activist scholar, he is professor and chair of the Department of Black Studies at California State University, Long Beach, and the chair of the organization US and the National Association of Kawaida Organizations, NACO. Dr. Karenga is also the author of numerous books and articles, including Introduction to Black Studies, selections from the Hosea, Sacred Wisdom of Ancient Egypt, the Book of Coming Forth by Day, the Ethics of the Declaration of Innocence, and the Odu Ifa, the Ethical Teachings, and Kawaida, a communitarian African philosophy. But he is more than that as well. He is, in my judgment, and I've written in my book, Maulana Karenga, An Intellectual Portrait. I wrote this book and I explain that there is no other African philosopher that we have who has had as much impact in the last 100 years as Maulana Karenga. He's changed our language. This is why I have people in my family with names like Nia, like Imani. And where do these names come from? Before Karenga, before 1965, 66. We don't have these in the African American community. Not only did he change our names, he changed our institutions. He gave us institutions like Harambe. Where did this come from? This came again out of his studies. What has this incredible genius done for his community and the world? He has shown us that the reconstruction of African culture is not only essential and necessary, it is possible. And in the possibility, we have seen it throughout the institutions. Sometimes people ask me, what do you think about the 60s? I say, well, the institutions that have survived from the 1960s, you look at them. They're all institutions that come out of the cultural movement. And they're profound organizations. And this organization itself, the Molefi Kete Asante Institute, came out of that period. It's a part of it, you see. So this person that I'm introducing to you is, I could introduce him as a friend, but sometimes when you say he's my friend, people think you don't know anything about the person. But I know a lot about this man, and he is, in my judgment, one of the great teachers of all times. And it's unfortunate that we don't sometimes recognize greatness among ourselves. And I always say that when you recognize greatness among yourselves, you're really honoring yourself. People walk up to me and they say, you wrote 100 books. I say, yeah, but I'm you. Well, I'm you. What were you talking about? You see? So when Maulana Karenga is the creator of Kwanzaa and the creator of all these things, he is us. Dr. Maulana Karenga, one of the great scholars and leaders of all times, we are delighted to have you come to our Pre-Kwanzaa as the creator of Kwanzaa and to speak to us at this moment. Dr. Karenga.
And I am indeed honored to be here with you, Dr. Molefi Kete Asante, Dr. Molefi Kete Asante, and to share some thought on this day of Pre-Kwanzaa at the Molefi Kete Institute. I want to just say a few words from my major lecture, which I'll give on the 18th, about Kwanzaa culture and the practice of freedom, a message and model for our time. Heri za Kwanzaa dada na ndugu rafiki na wageni. Miongoni mwetu mtakuta siku zote jamaa yenu na mahali pa amani. Na tunawatakia baraka bila idadi na vitu vyote vizuri bila mwisho. So welcome, brothers and sisters. Happy Kwanzaa, friends and guests. Among us, you will always find your family in a peaceful place, and we wish for you blessings without number and all good things without end. Zaidi ya hiyo, tunashuhudia kama watu wa Afrika kwamba kama mwanzo wetu ulivyokuwa mzuri na mwema, ndivyo yatakavyokuwa maendeleo yetu kupitia daima, ikiwa tunathubutu kujitahidi, kusema ukweli, kufanya haki na kutembea katika njia ya uadilifu. Hotel Ashe Hede. Moreover, we bear witness as an African people that as our beginning was great and good, so shall our development to our eternity be if we dare struggle, speak truth, do justice, and walk in the way of righteousness. Let us always begin by Tambiko, offering sacred words and waters and practicing what we call in Kabila philosophy, the morality of remembrance. We raise and praise the names of the great ones, those who were so tall that when they stood up, they were the heights of mountains, and when they lay down, they were the length of rivers. And we also raise up the extraordinary, ordinary loved ones who gave ground, enhanced meaning, and great goodness to our lives. Indeed, we always say to them all, homage to you, beautiful black and radiant spirit. You shall always be for us glorious spirits in heaven and a continuing powerful presence on earth. You are counted and honored among the ancestors. Your name shall endure as a monument, and the good you've done on earth shall never perish or pass away. Here is that Kwanzaa then. Happy Kwanzaa to African people everywhere throughout the world African community. And we share these greetings also with all people of goodwill, and especially with all the oppressed and struggling peoples of the world. We bring and send you all Kwanzaa greetings of celebration, solidarity, and continuing struggle for a shared good in the world. And in the words and ways of our ancestors, we wish for you all things good and pure and beautiful, all the good that heaven grants the earth produces, and the waters bring forth from their depth. Hotel, Ashe, Hedi. And Sabatia Moyo, my house, my wife, my companion in all things good, beautiful, and sacred. The African American Culture Center, us, and I bring special Kwanzaa greetings of celebration, solidarity, and continuing struggle to our greatly valued friend and colleague, the co-founders of the Molefi Kete Asante Institute, Dr. Molefi Kete Asante and Mrs. Anna Yenenga Asante. And to all the Institute members and supporters who value and contribute to the critical work of this vital institution, the Molefi Kete Asante Institute. As a world-encompassing holiday, Kwanzaa is celebrated by millions throughout the world African community on every continent in the world. It is celebrated not only in the U.S., but also in Africa, North America, South America, in the Caribbean islands, Asia, and Europe. Thus we send greetings of celebration, solidarity, continuing struggle to all our sisters and brothers around the world. We send it to the people of North America and African America. We send it to the people in Nunavut, Inuit land, Canada, right? We send it to, and in Canada proper, and I mean in all of Canada. We send it to the people of Africa, and South Africa, the Cameroons, and Ghana, and Cape Verde, and all the other countries that celebrate Kwanzaa. And to the people of our African people of South America, in Brazil, and in Suriname, and in Panama, and in Colombia, and in Ecuador, right? And we send it to African people in the Caribbean, in Martinique, Curaçao, Guadeloupe. We send it to the Africans in Asia, in South Korea, and China. We send them greetings of Kwanzaa, of celebration, solidarity, and continued struggle. Send it to our people in Europe, African people in England, in Austria, in France, in Norway, and other parts.
That's right.
And again, we send it to this great, large celebration every year in South Africa, maybe the largest in Africa. I do not know.
Right.
But I send the greetings to them. We send the greetings to them always. And so we are a world African community, black people, and our theme is always African Liberation Day and always for the liberation and flourishing of African and all peoples everywhere. Kwanzaa has evolved as a truly Pan-African celebration, celebrated again by millions of African people throughout the global African community, what on every continent in the world. It speaks both to the particular African people in the context of their country and also to all of us Africans collectively as a world community of various African people. Therefore, it has core practices, but they are also enriched by the particular ways each family and each people engage these core practices. And these core principles and practices are first in gathering of the people to reinforce the bonds between them and to meditate on the awesome meaning of being African in the world. Second is a time for thought and practice of special thanks for the harvest of good from the earth and renewed commitment to care for, protect, and preserve it. This is also a time for commemoration of the past, practicing the morality of remembrance and honoring the ancestors whose teachings and lives are our lessons. And we honor them best by living the legacy they left us. Recommitment also, during Kwanzaa, to our highest values is important, especially to the Nguzo Saba and to all that teach us to create, raise up, praise, and pursue the good. Finally, it's a time for celebration of good, the good of life, the good of struggle, the good of the world, the good of a future forged in freedom, anchored in justice, and rooted in mutual respect and shared good of and in the world. I created Kwanzaa in the midst of the Black freedom movement, in the wake of the assassination and martyrdom of Haji Malcolm X and the Watts Revolt, and in the supportive context of my organization, US, a vanguard organization of the movement dedicated to cultural revolution, community self-determination, and radical and revolutionary social change. Thus, the creation and values of Kwanzaa reflect my philosophy, kawaida, the concerns of my organization, the concerns of the movement and of those times, i.e. cultural consciousness, radical and revolutionary social change, community unity, self-definition, self-determination, economic well-being, and self-conscious participation in the liberation struggle. Kwanzaa was conceived and created and developed then in the context of the organization and the Black freedom movement, and was understood as part and parcel of a twofold liberation struggle, and that is to be ourselves and to free ourselves. It was a struggle to be Black, to be African without penalty, punishment, or oppression, to be free from domination, deprivation, and degradation, and to be free Black people, to live good, meaningful lives, to bring good into the world, and to come into the fullness of ourselves as persons and a people. It was and is part of our liberation struggle to be ourselves and free ourselves. So Kwanzaa was and remained an act of freedom, an instrument of freedom, and a celebration of freedom. Kwanzaa was and remains an act of freedom, an act of reaffirmation and resistance, reaffirmation of ourselves and our right to be ourselves and to free ourselves and to resist European culture and political domination. It is to break the cultural hegemony that the European has on so many of our minds, to speak our own special cultural truth and to make our own unique contribution to how this society is reconceived and reconstructed, and to make our own unique contribution to the forward flow of human history. It was and is also an instrument of freedom, a means of cultivating liberated and liberating consciousness, and creating critical free space for us to be our African self, giving us grounding and guidance to be ourselves and free ourselves, returning us to our own history and culture, and helping to build our families and community in good, meaningful, and transformative ways. And Kwanzaa is and has always been also not only an act of freedom, not only an instrument of freedom, but also a celebration of freedom. A celebration of freedom from the negative conceptions of ourselves and oppression by our racist society. And freedom to see and sing and express ourselves in dignity-affirming, life-enhancing, world-preserving, and liberating ways. And to raise high and focus on the beauty, goodness, soulfulness, sacredness, and also responsibility of being African in the world, in all, as all our honored ancestors taught us. It is important here to note that given its roots also in ancient harvest celebrations of Africa, and its gratitude for the abundant good of the earth, and its commitment to protect and preserve the earth and all in it, Kwanzaa and its principles, rooted in kawaida philosophy, offer an important way forward in this time of climate change and environmental degradation through plunder, pollution, and depletion by the dominant society. It builds on the environmental ethics of the naturalist, chemist, and agricultural scientist, Dr. George Washington Carver, who taught and urged us to love nature and to learn its language and lessons for the good of the world, and to be one who, quote, takes his share of the world and let other people have theirs. Yes. And Kwanzaa builds also on the environmental ethics of the environmental and social activist, Dr. Wangari Maathai, who taught us that, quote, we are called to assist the earth to heal her wound and in the process, heal our own. From Kawi, the philosophy, Kwanzaa then raises up the ancient African Martin ethical imperative of Saruj Ta, our moral obligation to constantly repair, renew, and remake the world, making it more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it. And the principle and practice of Kuumba in Kwanzaa invites and urges us to work and struggle mightily for community, societies, and a world more beautiful and beneficial than the ones we inherited. Indeed, as Nana Dr. Mayor McLeod Bethune taught us, quote, we must remake the world. The task is nothing less than that. Recent literature shows, tells us the world as a common ecological environment is currently under several kinds of pressure, including the problems of plunder, pollution, and depletion, plunder of air, water, and soil, and plunder and depletion of other natural resources. The threats to the environment by plunder, pollution, and depletion not only affect the possibilities of future generations, but the very existence of the world as we know it. Clearly, an ethics that links life in a holistic framework and makes it morally compelling to respect both the social and the natural is needed. And Kabbalah philosophy in this concept that is so prominent during Kwanzaa celebration and their celebration and respect for nature. Saruj Ta offers us a way forward. Thus, the ancient African ethical imperative of Saruj Ta to repair, renew, and remake the world remains as relevant today and perhaps more urgent for us and all human beings, given the times in which we now live and the damage, devastation, and dangers we sense and see all around us. And so, Saruj Ta is ethical, the moral obligation to do what? To repair, to renew, and remake the world. And to do this, it says, we must raise up that which is in ruins, repair that which is damaged, rejoin that which is severed or divided, replenish that which is depleted, strengthen that which is weakened, set right that which is wrong, and make flourish that which is insecure and undeveloped. Kwanzaa then is a powerful force for good in the world. It urges us to think deep, Black people, about our lives, our families, our communities, our lives and our struggle to bring and sustain good in the world. And its values speak to the best of what it means to be African and human in the fullest sense. It teaches us that we're not only human beings, Watu, we're also world beings, Walimwengu. Our duty is to the whole world, right? At the heart of Kwanzaa and its central message and meaning are the Nguzo Saba, the seven principles, a communitarian African value system. These dignity-affirming, life-enhancing, and world-preserving principles offer rightful, reciprocal, and rewarding alternative ways. Rightful, reciprocal, and rewarding alternative way to relate to each other and to relate to the world in these difficult, demanding, and turbulent times. The Nguzo Saba offered them and engaged as practices central to liberation and bringing good in the world. These are essential ethical values and principles of living and life. Umoja, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Say it all, say it all. Keep those fundamental tenets as they are, right? Kujichakalip, to define ourselves, to name ourselves, to create for ourselves and speak for ourselves. Ujima, collective work and responsibility, right? To build and maintain our community together and to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. Ujamaa, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses and to profit from them together. Neo purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Kuumba, creativity, to always do as much as we can in the way we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited. And Imani, faith, to believe with all our heart in our people, right? If we believe in our people, we believe in ourselves. But if we just believe in ourselves, we don't necessarily believe in our people, and we might have a narrow conception, a narrow notion of who we are. So to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, right? Our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. These principles urge us to reflect on and choose and practice unity over destructive division and disabling divisiveness, self-determination over mindless herd and mob mentality. Teaches us to practice and reflect on collective working responsibility over selfish irresponsibility, cooperative economic, shared work and wealth, and care for the vulnerable over greed, disparities, and deprivation. Teaches us to practice purpose for bringing good into the world over the wasteful wandering of purposelessness, creativity over destructive practices against each other and the environment, and faith in the good and in our future over a paralyzing pessimism and fear and distrust of others, which problematizes and limits both our relationship and our future. In closing, it is important that although I credit Kwanzaa and my organization, us first embraced and practiced it, and we have been central to its continued development and global reach, it would not be the world-encompassing Pan-African holiday it is without our people and all they have done to make it a lived and living tradition. But I also want to give special appreciation to the Kawaii influenced formations of the Black Liberation Movement and all the others in the movement. But always, I take it collectively, and I am always truly grateful to our people, African people, who have globally embraced Kwanzaa and its core principles, the Nguzo Saba, and use these principles, as Molefi Kete Asante said earlier, to ground, orient, and direct their lives in good and expansive ways. Right? First, as a value system. Second, to name and teach their children these values and righteous African ways to walk in the world. Using them to conceive and name and carry out their projects. And finally, using these principles to imagine and self-consciously practice new and culturally grounded ways to live their lives, do their work, and wage our ancient and ongoing struggle to bring and sustain good in the world. And this Kwanzaa, Black people, and always then, let us recommit ourselves to this our ongoing duty. And this duty is to know our past and honor it, to engage our present and improve it, and to imagine a whole new future and to forge it in the most ethical, effective, and expansive ways. And this too, continue the struggle, keep the faith, hold the line, love and respect our people and each other, practice the Nguzo Saba, seek and speak truth, do and demand justice, be constantly concerned with the well-being of the world and all in it, and dare help rebuild the overarching movement that prefigures and makes possible the good world we all want and deserve to live in and leave as a legacy worthy of the name and history African. In the tradition of our ancestors then, we say again, Hediza Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa. And we wish for you all blessings without number and all good things without end.
Ashe. All right. Hey. All right. All right. Oh, powerful, powerful. Well done, and we are delighted. We thank you so much. We know how busy you are this season, this time of year, and the fact that you gave us this time and came and as the founder and creator of Kwanzaa, made our pre-Kwanzaa event the most significant and the most powerful. Asante Sana, and all good victories for you forever, Maulana. We appreciate you and give our praise to Tia Moya, who worked side by side with you.
Oh, warm greeting. And thanks to you and Anna.
Beautiful. Thank you, Asante.
I return all you've said back to you in equal measure.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, beautiful. Okay, Asante Sana. All right. So now I think we have just a few more things, and we will be closing. I want to make an announcement, and that announcement is that on January the 22nd, we will have our next meeting here. And January the 22nd will be a Sunday, and at 4 o'clock, I will be giving a lecture actually on the education of black people. That will be on 22nd of January. So we look forward to seeing all of you who are physically present here, and those of you who are on YouTube. Were there any questions for Dr. Karenga? I don't know whether, okay, so I'm going to say a few words. Yes, please. I have no.
Just cut off the presentation. That's not going to YouTube, though.
No, it's not going to YouTube. Yeah.
Cut it off.
Okay.
Just sit in
Okay. I'm sorry. Let me just end it here.
right there.
Okay.
Bottom right corner, other side.
There you go. Right. There you go. Yeah, I got it. I think that's it. Is that it? And forever. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Santasana. All right. I just want to say a few words just about what Maulana Karenga has just said, because I think it's important for us to know that the central fact of the creation of Kwanzaa was that the nearly 400 years of destruction of African culture created a situation among us and in our communities where we did not know anymore what our own foundations were and what were the groundings of our own history. I don't think we see that today. I mean, we see that in the activities of somebody like Ye. I mean, I think we see it. I think it comes out because he doesn't know your own history. When you don't know your own history, your own culture, your own relationships, it's very, very difficult for someone to have clarity. And I think that what Karenga saw in the 1960s was from a Pan-African view, not just from an African-American view, that almost everywhere he went, much like Marcus Garvey had said, when he traveled everywhere in the world, wherever you go, you ask yourself the question, what's wrong? Something is not right. You know, how we treat each other even, it's not right. And how we, so he said that there had to be an issue here, and the issue had to come fundamentally from our own history and culture, from our own narratives. If we don't know our own narratives, we won't even know anyway how to respond and so on. And that's what I have seen. So what he wanted to do was to talk about how do you reconstruct a culture that's broken. You know, the European was terribly evil, what they did to African people. Because, you know, it's one thing to take African people physically from their continent of Africa, but it's another thing to take them from the African continent and then to basically take their brains and their values, their concepts of ethics and good and right and what's wrong, how do you treat each other. They took all these things. They even took the way people looked. I saw a beautiful woman yesterday on a documentary about the treatment of Haitian people in Dominican Republic. A beautiful sister, very beautiful. She said, I want to bleach my skin because they say it makes me more beautiful. She was already beautiful. Where did that come from? How did that kind of stuff enter our brains? You know? And that's why there's a beautiful thing Professor Karenga said. He spoke about dignity affirmation. And that's why when I see African people, I try to affirm their dignity. Because in affirming their dignity, I affirm my dignity. What is more beautiful than a human being? And then you also have this issue of colorism. Why? What is that? We all human. No, we all are human beings. And to see the Dominicans, who also have African ancestry, fighting against the Haitians, who basically liberated them, is insane. But insanity comes when we don't know our history. Let me tell you the other thing that I get from this in terms of Pan-Africanism. He shows you all the places where Kwanzaa is celebrated. Why do African people in all these places celebrate Kwanzaa? Because they all recognize the destruction of African culture. When I'm in Paris and I go to Kwanzaa celebrations in Paris, the black people come from all over to the celebration. They're from Brazil, they're from the continent of Africa, many different countries. They're all celebrating Kwanzaa. That's an incredible achievement in the 50-some years that Dr. Karenga created this. And it was not done by social media. Kwanzaa was not spread by social media. It was spread by you, by us. People had it in their own families with their children. They took the basic principles of Kwanzaa, the basic substance and symbols of Kwanzaa, and they held in their own families, their homes. We did it when our children were younger. We did it in the family to teach them these values. What is the meaning of this? The mkeka, the mat, means foundation. It's the foundation. You see, these are fun. He thought about this. He didn't just wake up one morning and said, we need to have a celebration. No. He woke up and he said, what comes out of the Pan-African culture? This man knows ancient Egyptian language. He knows Kiswahili. He knows Yoruba. He speaks Zulu. Well, he's us. It's just like I have a brother here. He speaks many different languages. He's Africans. I have one friend from Senegal who speaks 19 languages. And people say black people don't know English. Well, I don't know English very well either myself. My first language is Ebonics. If you had asked me before, I might have could. I come from there's a whole different thing going on in my Georgia head, you see? So it's very important to understand dignity affirmation, but it's also important to understand another note I wrote, and it was really, really powerful to me that he had said, and I think it's incredible, and I mentioned this many times in my own works, that we have to maintain. We can't just create. Creation is good. It's genius. But if you create something, even an institution like this institution, we have to maintain it. We are fortunate at the Molefi Kete Asante Institute to have an incredible group of people, board members, Carlton Sudan back there, this brother right here, a technical genius, Brother Kareem. They make sure that the foundation is strong. There's no games here. This is maintenance. But the people don't maintain. You can't just run a place into the ground. You have to maintain. If you take me to a cemetery and you show me that cemetery, I can tell you the character of the people who live in that community by that cemetery. Maintenance is fundamental, you know. Do you maintain? Not that you make it. You made it, but it's falling down. You know what I'm saying? Maintenance, it's hard, it's consistency. It's being able to have vision and so forth. So, my brothers and sisters, at this point, we're going to ask a brother from the continent, Brother Tugu Sanusi from Darfur in Sudan, to read for us the names of the ancestors. And after that, I'm going to ask all of you who could to stand, and then we're going to do 7 Harambes to close out our Pre-Kwanzaa event. At this time, Brother Tugu, will you come?
Thank you so much, Dr. Asante. And I will say Hotep, Habrigani, Afokonga, Afokamuo, Kilmai Simoi, Alangina Aring. I must say, like, when I came, the values of African tradition always told us that you got to be prepared for everything at any time. And this also goes into Nia, where Dr. Karenga talked about. So when I came in and then Dr. Asante said, you got a job to do. I said, all right, but I said yes immediately because we got to be prepared for everything. At any time. Like, and then I was saying, okay, while I was sitting there, I got to read the paper because I got to read some names, and pardon me, please, if I may, you know, some of them are difficult, some of them maybe, but I just did my assignment within 5 minutes or 60 minutes. So I got to read them, and then, and this goes into the need of serving our people. Yes. I mean, we have the purpose always that we are carrying it wherever we go. So we got to work for goodness of our people. So I will begin by some names, and then I also added some names from my home, so that also it fits into the context that we are working on. So our ancestors' name Imhotep, the first human philosopher in human history. Yes. The Hatshepsut, Ramses, Oscar, Osset, Amaris, Amansheke, Duaf, Imhotep, yes. Ptahhotep, Pepe, Thomas the Great, Nefertiti, yes. The Queen Tia, yes. King Ezana, yes. Yade, Mongoliso Subukwe. Yes. I know that name because it's South African name, and I've been to South Africa. Mandela, Nkrumah, Aziwe, Edward Wilmot Belden, W.D. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, John Lewis, Fanny Lowmore, Yange or Younger, Zombe, Nani of Jamaica, Mary Lut Bathon, Alexandra Cormel, Okonfo Ayege, Thomas Sankara, Shumanka, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Francis Cruz Welsing, Alhaji Muhammad, Rosa Parks, Amy Jacques Garvey, Shona Truth, and Mom and the hero Harriet Tubman. And I will add some names from Sudan and Darfur. So Porang Wonga, ancestors of the Fo community. We have Tora, Tomorokonga, Taharga, Mariam Taja, Ali Dinar, and John Garang. Thank you so much. Kiborai, Borafatai.
All right, may the ancestors be pleased. All right, beautiful, beautiful. We're going to, at this time, thank all of the people who have participated in our program, and we also are going to stand and we're going to raise our right hand, and we're going to, actually, we're going to do 7 Harambes. And Harambe is a Kiswahili word which means let's all pull together. And we do it 7 times. First, Harambe, 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 Harambe. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the 22nd. All right. Thank you all. Thank our YouTube audience as well.
Thank you.